I'm Gwen Schoen, food writer at the Sacramento Bee, and in the kitchen today is Belinda Gregor from Ettore's European Bakery and Restaurant in Sacramento. And Belinda, welcome.
Thank you.
And Belinda's going to show us how to frost a cake with buttercream frosting.
Yep.
So,
First,
you've already filled this.
Yes, this is a pre-filled cake that I have ready to go, which is basically once you get the cake out of the pan, you're going to be cutting off the top layer so you don't have that little hump. And that's going to help to achieve a nice, flat, even layer like you'll see when you order one of our cakes in our bakery.
Won't that create crumbs?
It does create crumbs, but if you freeze your cake first and then tort it, that's going to yield a much better result and also be easier for you to tort it. Most people think freezing dries out your cake, but if you just take it and let it cool down first before you put it in the freezer, wrap it in plastic wrap, and then that's going to help to keep it nice and soft.
Oh, okay.
So then when you go to cut it off, you don't have nearly as many crumbs going on, but it's kind of a double process. Once you cut it, then you're going to fill it, and here we have it filled with white chocolate mousse and a layer of strawberry preserves, and then it goes back into the freezer. So then here we have it already filled, and you can see that it's not fully even here. It's a little crooked here and a little funny on top. So in order to fix that, what I do is I just take the cake and flip it over, pull it off of its little board very carefully, and then put it back down. And now we have
so that you have the flat
level.
side.
Yeah, this is perfectly level now. So then you don't have to really adjust for the most part. And then once we have it here, I'm going to be trimming off just lightly to get it fully set on the sides here.
And that's just to even it up so it's really straight.
And it makes it much easier to ice and see what you're doing. And then if you put plastic wrap down, then you can just let the cake fall where it is and you don't get that mess all over your counter. And next we're going to get ready for buttercreaming. And one thing that a lot of people have trouble with is how to buttercream a cake and not get the crumbs in there. So what I find is easiest and most efficient for me when I'm working on my cakes at the bakery is to use a large plastic piping bag. And this is, a lot of people use these tips for doing basket weaves. It's pretty much a large basket weave tip. So if we just set it nicely in there and fold back part of your bag to keep your neck clean, and then you kind of cradle it there. So then when you go to load your buttercream, and I'm working with a Swiss meringue buttercream here that I've lightly dyed pink.
Now, could you use this technique with any other type of frosting too?
Stick with the buttercreams for this. If you were to try to do a cream cheese frosting with this, it's not going to be very successful because cream cheese has a funny body to it, I guess you could say.
Okay.
It's rather...
this is pretty fluffy.
Yeah, this is rather fluffy and it stays put, but where cream cheese is kind of going to pull against itself.
Okay.
So you're going to want to stick with the buttercreams on this. From here, we're going to go around the cake. Make sure the cake is centered. And then just lay it on. Just like that.
So this is sort of like a base coat.
It's pretty much the full coat, really. There's no need for a crumb coat when you do it this way because you're putting on a pretty nice thick amount. And don't worry about thinking, oh, this is too much buttercream going onto this cake because you're going to be scraping it off to bring it down to a much more palatable level. So then once you get that all on there, just run whatever you have left up on top. And you can set your little bag aside and then put a little dollop, well, little, right on top there. And then take I prefer to work with an offset spatula. Just makes it much easier to ice, I find, for me. Other people prefer a straight spatula, but for me, offset's the way to go.
Now, an offset means that there's a little
yeah, the blade is offset from the handle. Instead of being straight across, it's brought down and makes it just a little bit easier, especially with the larger cakes. If you were to try to do a quarter sheet, using an offset spatula makes it much easier. So then you're going to start pulling some of the buttercream off once you start getting a nice even layer there.
Well, that's nice and smooth and much faster than trying to do it a spoonful at a time.
Yeah, and then when you go to do the sides, it's going to go right on, and you don't have crumbs poking through because you're just smoothing it down onto the cake. And you have pretty much the perfect amount on there So then you can just slowly start working your way in. And by cutting the cake as I did earlier, that helps it, since it's now inset from the board, that's giving you about 1/8 of an inch roughly of buttercream right there. So when you feel that you hit the board as you're going around and around, just as I've done right here, I've hit the board right there, then that means I've got not too much icing on there, just about.
So you use that for your measure.
I do, and if I find that I've taken in the top a bit much, then I can always go back and add on a little bit more. So I'll just kind of go around a few swipes here, and then once I get done with that, I go to my next step, which is using a bench scraper. And I picked this little guy up at Williams-Sonoma. It sits nice and flush to the table, which makes it nice and easy. So you just apply it to the side of the cake and then bring it right around.
Oh, that helps smooth it out really,
and that's
very nicely.
Make it very smooth. And that'll also let you see where you don't have enough buttercream. So if you have anywhere where there might have been gaps, then you can go back in and fill in. And now you've got all this buttercream here on top. And with that, I try to pick where the lowest spot is, so here, and then I'll just bring it right in. Go with it to get the initial top edge off.
Nice and smooth.
And then if you want to check to see how much buttercream, because you think maybe I have too much on there, you just make sure that your palette knife is, for the most part, clean. Dip it down until you hit the cake, and then you can see precisely how much you have right there. So that looks like a pretty good amount to me, so then I can just smooth over that.
About 1/8 of an inch.
Just smooth over nicely. And then from here, we're going to refrigerate the cake, or if you want to do it faster, if you need to get it done faster, you can pop it back into the freezer, and that's going to help your buttercream to set and get a little firmer.
Okay, so now you've got it all nice and smooth, and you're going to decorate it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to use ganache that I've put in with a star tip and do a nice little shell border down along the bottom.
Okay. That's beautiful. Now you're going to decorate the top a little bit?
Yeah, now we're going to do a top little, it's almost going to look like a little question mark that you're going to make going around the top edge. So you're going to go up and around and then go for a reverse. And it creates a really beautiful little scalloped.
Well, that looks like it would take some practice, but
it will, and you can practice on top of parchment paper or plastic wrap. So if you want to, you know, do a few run-throughs first, you just kind of go up and around and bring it down. Up and around and bring it down.
Well, Belinda, that looks beautiful. Thank you very much. You've given us a lot of really great tips and information. Thank you.
Thanks, my pleasure.